And then somebody came in and said, hey, fix my Outlook. That's the problem. A human can fix it in 5 minutes, and an agent can't figure it after spending $1,000. When we launched our first agent, when I was at Google, we put so many policies that 6 out of 10 customers were just denied access. That's why your agent is failing today. Agents are intelligent machines which have access to your knowledge. Somebody gave access to our VM to Claude Code, and it went ahead and deleted all the databases. More and more people are asking you to build unbounded agents. Unbounded agent is it can do red teaming, it can also draft contracts, and it has to have a chat interface, and it has to have different skills or create my own agents or sub agent. Today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about how to build agents with observability. Basically, we'll lay down the foundation of before, like observability is not new. You are observing apps in production. When you take things to production, you need to observe them because people pay for these things in production. They expect SLAs. So we will lay that foundation down first. Then we will look at difference between monitoring, evaluation, and guardrails. These are the 3 or 4 more pillars of observability. When people say observability, they sometimes mean monitoring, sometimes mean evaluation, sometimes means guardrails. Monitoring was always there. So monitoring and observability was used interchangeably depending upon who you are buying stuff from. But evaluations and guardrails are new. So hopefully we'll talk about them and we'll show you how you set it up. And then how do I suggest you setting your observability as product managers? And what's the difference between you and the EMs or engineering? What's your responsibility? What's their responsibility? What should you know? What's even possible? Because you don't, the challenge with setting a lot of observability is that you might set your team for a long ship cycle. So I will try to lay down that what is possible and hopefully give you enough tools or resources that you can go and discover more on your own. Okay, then let's get started. What happens when you think shift things to production? You start hearing things like uptime, reliability, and then you start giving SLAs that, hey, we will respond in 2 minutes. What do you mean? We will be back to you in 30 seconds. We have an uptime of 7 nines. All these are SLAs that you sign in your master service agreement. Once you go in production, you are held accountable for everything that you have set up. And for that, you need to make sure that your service is being observed or it's getting deployed. How you set it up today? There is this thing called open telemetry that I want all of you to go learn. This is there for 5 years. This is a common standard which every company uses, or at least every cloud provider, as well as most of the new people who introduce things, support open telemetry. Open telemetry allows you to put traces or put logs in a standard that any tool can process. Then downstream, once you put open telemetry constructs, then downstream, there are open source or open tools which can process your traces or your logs and give you dashboard or stuff. This is an example from Azure Monitor. In Azure Monitor, what you do is you import open telemetry. Then you just set up where is your application connection string, and that's pretty much it. And then you set up few of the how much traces you want, and voila, you get a log like. So what happens is your app start putting these things, log traces and metrics, and then you can get insight, you can visualize them, you can analyze them, and you get a dashboard like this. Easy. All the apps are working like this, not very hard, maybe 1 day effort for devs to set it up. And then you can see how many requests are failing, what is your server's response time, what is the request being sent to you, or otherwise. And you can also put custom logs, and you can see those logs also through these traces. Okay, great. We're not taking questions right now. Questions we'll take in the end. So just keep your questions to yourself or put them down in the board link that we shared, and I will stay back for questions. Okay, then. This is working, but what new with agents? What's how the agents are changing this trajectory or how we do monitoring? If you remember, agents are intelligent machines which have access to your knowledge, has signals, tools, and guardrails. Somebody pinged us today on our Zoom link or our Teams that somebody gave access to our VM to Cloud Code, and it went ahead and deleted all the databases in experiment. So that's the kind of capability you're dealing with. We are trying to figure out who gave Cloud Code access to our VM, which has access to our database. So somebody must have figured out that, doing coding on their side is not much fun. Let's just put it on the production VM. But it's an experiments VM. That's the saving grace here. But the challenge is that that's the kind of capabilities you're dealing with, that these folks can have access to your VMs, knows what is the current state, and has tools like bash commands to go and delete, update, or read stuff. Obviously, you have given it, but anybody in your team can give these kind of access, which, if you fail to put some guardrails, can do things which I just shared. Okay, in this new world, what happens? In this new world, in old world, we were just trying to make sure that is it working. You saw this kind of logging we did, which was uptime, failed request. Uh, if you log like how much time it takes, any SLA you put was good enough in the old world, because you could determine what the output would be, and then you can compare, you can run your tests, you can do every time you make a change, you can also run more tests. You make sure is it working or not, and if not, then you fix it or you make it working. In the new world, is it working is table stakes. You have to make sure that it's right. You have to make sure it is following the policies or the guardrails, which is don't delete customer data or don't update customer data. And you should not have privilege to update customer data. And what is the cost? Because these agents it's not a single call, or you can deterministically say that every time an agent it call, it only makes one call. An agent to get a job done, which is maybe like a job, for an example, right? We are working with a company where we are trying to help them manage their cost or show them the impact of AI. And they had this awesome use case where they use Cloud Code and co-work, and they gave it to the IT team, gave it to everybody. And then somebody came in and said, hey, fix my Outlook. And then they just went on a 3 hour fix my Outlook trail. And every time, fix my Outlook is a very broad task. And Claude Code or Claude Cowork goes in and tries to debug it. And then it keep asking questions, and the user keeps saying yes, 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 yes. And end of 3 hours, the bill is $786. And IT figured that problem out in 2 minutes by saying, hey, your Outlook is not working. What is not working? Oh, we are not able to send emails. Here is the email address I put, and I send it, and it doesn't go. And then they say, oh, you put a rule that before sending this email to this client, wait 3 hours. That's the problem. A human can fix it in 5 minutes, and an agent can't figure it out after spending $1,000. That's the kind of machines, or that's the kind of things you're dealing with today. So you're going from here to here as you are shipping agents, and especially in production, especially unbounded agents, which are supposed to plan, act, gather context, take action, eval, the agentic loop, which we talked about a lot in the sessions, that now we have that kind of capabilities, and we have long horizon jobs, so that these agents can go and run for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe 16 hours. That means failure, or not observing how they fail, or how much it costs for us to get things done what our customers ask it to, will be a recipe for failure of a product. And that's what you're seeing, like the first symptoms of this you are seeing in the traces of Uber announcing, and we're talking to other company where they have run out of their IT budget in 3 months of rolling out Cloud Code, because the expenses are growing 9x month on month, and they have no money left to buy anything. So now they're figuring out how to get extra money or stop pushing Cloud Code to at least 5 or 6 departments where they don't see any impact as much as they thought. And we are helping them to see the impact, where the impact should be or not.
I
But
think
that's
like
the kind of things we have to ration these things. We cannot just let them be out and do things, because there are four or five things. One is cost. Second is the TPM, RPM limits throughout the enterprise that people can go hit. So those are the real challenges. Somebody said Microsoft also did the same thing. That explains Microsoft 3 trillion evaluations. Yes, Kiran, exactly. I think 1 trillion was the check I did, but yes, let's do it. Okay, then. How can we do that, right? How can we test it, right? So there are other things, right? Let's check whether it's right or not. And evaluation was the answer. We are evaluating our agents. You can set up what the agent should behave, like a ground truth, and also set up what it should do and what it should not do, and then compare it, and then figure out whether it's working or not. We introduce this framework. We, instead of just saying that it's right, we also say it's helpful, it's honest, it's harmless. What does that mean? That means that you can set up list of questions or criterias. So if you build an agent, like we build an agent which basically goes and find risk and also edits your document or contract to avoid those risks. So we said, from a lawyer perspective, the right here is that the text, if you replace in a contract, it should be in the right location. It should be clear. It should keep the grammar intact. It should preserve the original clause. It should not be too verbose, but not too shallow also. And you can also quickly verify it. So these are the kind of questions, or these are the kind of insights you figure out in whatever agent you are building, and figure out, okay, it did the red lines, it gave me the risk, and it inserted it in the document, but is it really helpful? And if it is, then you can define the criteria of what helpful means in your domain or whatever agent or the agent that you build. If that agent is helpful, it will be able to answer most of these questions as yes. And then you can say if it is most of these questions are no, then it's not very helpful, even if it is working. Same, you can define what is honest agent. If you can map its things on the source, if you can verify its work, if it is telling truth most of the time. And then you can also have your policies, your guardrails, and those questions are in your harmless criteria. Once you have these, you can set up, and then you can extract things or do things, and then ask these questions to your subject matter expert on every time a contract is uploaded or you specify risk. You can go and evaluate your agents. Great. Once you do that, then what we have done is you can also set up criteria, which is, I want my helpfulness to be 60%, 75% before even I launch it internally to 1% of customers. So before internal launch, these are my targets. Okay, you're cool. You have set up evaluations. That means at least you are heading in right directions. You are 50% there. That now you can go and say, hey, it's not only working, it's also right. And I have asked subject matter expert to validate that my agent is helpful, honest, and harmless. Great. But this is humans. Humans are expenses. There are expenses on humans. We also checked, just asking a single question to a human evaluator was costing 25 cents with Azure, with the AWS Bedrock evaluations. So if you asked one question, one contract may have 20 risks. Each risk will have 20 to 30 questions. That means you will have around 1,000. One contract evaluation means 1,000 questions of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. If you multiply that by 25 cents, you are basically spending $250 evaluating one contract results for your teams. Okay, how can we scale these? Once, it's expensive. Second is time consuming. Third, you may not be able to finish these things on the right kind of talent that is needed. So how can we scale these? Then people introduce this idea of evaluators. So this is Microsoft Foundry. You can set up evaluators. These are automatic evaluators which can answer these questions yes or no for us. So if you give it an answer by a lawyer, and an answer by your agent. This score can tell you whether they're similar or not. Then you can find out how many words, if an lawyer said this is a risk, or the risk explanation from a lawyer, are there in the evaluator versus what's you have or your agent have asked for. This is checks how many precise word. This check how many words you are able to recall. Google have their own version of it. You can read more about these metrics, but just to know today that you have these evaluators which you can set up, which will give you a rough idea of how good is your response compared to a response that a subject matter expert would have given. If you are doing RAG, which is a way for you to get relevant data only before you send requests to these agents, then you can check document retrieval, groundedness. Is your response grounded in the text or it's just hallucinated? All these can be automatically applied, but they require ground truths. So now your broker become getting the data. But if you have the data, then you can put these evaluators. These evaluators are available out of box. So you can just throw this and machines will be able to tell you that we have evaluators. Okay. So two things to take away here is, okay, I have evaluate. I want to make sure my agent is doing the right thing. For that, I can do human evals as well as I can do automated evals. Automated evals are not available for everything, but for that, you can create your LLM as a judge. When people talk about these things, they talk about like 2 or 3 things. So let's just lay this down. So my challenge is I'm trying to find out whether I'm right or not. So, okay, first step is it working? That means given a contract, can I find risks and also go and edit the document with my language or saying 30 days, I don't take payment in 30 days, I need payment I will pay only in 60 days. I can also edit it. So this is just validating, is it working? Good. Then I need to make sure it is right. And the first thing I'm doing for that is I can set up evaluations. And you can just put everything under evaluations, but let's break it down into two things. One is you're going to do human evals where you set the criteria and some human will say, is it good or not based on the criteria or the questions? And we said HHH can help you here. Then you're going to automate this with out of box automated evaluators, which Azure Foundry gives you, or platforms like Brain Trust and others give you these out of box, and you can check the quality of your retrievals. You can check the quality of the risk quality, comparing it to a human ground truth, which is a lawyer versus this, and say how similar are these, how many words from this are taken into this, which is the blue score. If they have a lot of overlap, then your blue score is higher. If you have less overlap, then your blue score is lower. This is how they find out if similarity is just an overlap on these blue or rouge metrics. Good. If you set that up, then your challenge is, how about real data, Mahesh? This is all post. So this is maybe all this is post. Then you need to set up pre or deploy these things in production. So what you can do is you can set up alerts, and these alerts allow you to go or track your agents in real time and say, hey, if the ground truth accuracy drops below 30%, then send me an email. If this tool calling fails above this 40%, then send me an email or send an alert or file a bug. All this is possible. This is how you do it. Let me show you how we set that up in Azure. So then you have this second thing. What about my real data tracking? Then real data tracking is alerts. This is how you can set them up in Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor allows you to set up alerts. You can figure out what kind of alert rule is, and then you can set this up. This also applies to these AI or agentic evaluators. So you can say that, hey, if my score for this particular question drops below this, I want to be alerted. Okay, then you have alerts. What about people are trying to break or use my agents into bad ways? How can I solve it? That's the third piece in this story, which is this idea of red teaming, where you go and voluntarily attack your agent and try to see where it breaks and make sure that you have done all the ways of prompt injection or prompt corruption or prompt sandwiching. These are the techniques people use to hack your agents to do bad things or get past your guardrails or your security threats. For that, you can set up even red teaming, uh, and all these are also automated, not perfection, but a lot of these things you can also offload with tools like Azure Monitor or Brain Trust, or everybody, I think, these days have a tool for red teaming where you define these criterias. They have by default what kind of attacks they have seen, and you can set them up and then run it against your agent. You just give it an endpoint, it will plan the attack, it will make those attacks, and then say that whether you for how much time it took and show you whether it failed or passed the attacks. Great. Okay, then we got that done. Is that enough? We have done everything, right? We have set up alerts, we are evaluating, we have alerts, and we have done red teaming. Is that enough in 2026? So 2026, one thing has changed is that you need to remove a lot of boundaries. These all things worked if you narrowed the focus and did only one thing. If your agent was doing one thing, which is in my case, in my example, I was just saying, give me a contract, I will give you the risks. That could have worked. But now more and more people are asking you to build unbounded agents. What an unbounded agent? An unbounded agent is, it can do red teaming, it can also draft contracts, it can go and tell you to compare two agents, and it has to have a chat interface, and it has to have for me to give different skills or create my own agents or sub agent. A good example of that is Claude Cowork. And the apps that you will build, the customers are going to push you this year to not narrow the focus to one task, but give them an unbounded agent which can plan, get context, run the do action, run evaluations, and then keep doing this again and again unless the job is done. So more and more people or more and more apps that you will build in 2026 will hopefully be built on top of agentic loop, which will allow you, this is an opportunity as well as new responsibility. So now you have to build unbounded agents, and these agents will be able to do so many things and can run for a long amount of time. Okay, then if you remove the boundaries, then what you need to observe, you need to observe cost per session, per user, per task, time taken to complete tasks, error rate across all components. Last year, if you asked me that, Mahesh, I'm setting evaluations, what I would have, do you want me to just evaluate input, output? And I would say, yeah, just as a PM, you should set the quality bar on what the user got and not what happened inside your traces. If you had a multi-agent or if you had a lot of agents just gathering context, don't monitor them. That's your engineering responsibility. This year, that responsibility shifts to you because it started impacting customer behavior and customer cost, and not to the measure of 5-10%. The cost is the deciding factor because the starting cost is $20, but people are paying as they are using the product. And if you're not able to manage that cost for them, they are going to leave your product. So it's critical product decision now to measure these things and also the failure rates. So things like this, you will see more and more. When we launched our first agent, when I was at Google, uh, we launched this support agent, and we put a lot of guardrails. And then I looked at the traces, and 60% time, if the user came to us, we said, hey, we can't answer this question. because we said if
Yes,
it is
Mohammed.
says credit card, if it asks for personal information, if it asks any question about Google, we put so many policies that 6 out of 10 customers were just denied access, not by the error or 500 errors on the service level, but by the agent saying, I can't answer this question, it's against my policy, right? So that's how many times are you triggering these guardrails? How many times you have a tool which could have been called and you could have got a more precise, correct answer or more precise solution much faster. But because you're failing to call that tool, that's why your agent is failing today. How, and without these, the quality of your agent is best of luck. And by the way, you can do these evaluations you can set the alerts, you can have the red teaming. These costs or these things won't be captured in that. Or even if you are able to capture some of that, most of it is going to happen live and you will see these traces. So, how to set this up? You need to combine multiple evaluators that are given. And luckily, Azure Agent Observability allows you to do that. So you can put tool call accuracy, task adherence. This is the metrics they have given in agent monitoring, and most of the observability frameworks will give you something like that. This measures how many times you're supposed to call a tool and it's called correctly. This measures that if I gave you a task, you have not drifted away from the task and start doing something else. What is at each step you're staying with the plan? This is how many times you're able to get the right task and map it to the right tools and create right plans. And this, of course, is the safety piece, which all of you have seen. So this is the one example where these guys have gone and showed me how they have set it up. But means the same was available on Azure, but I wanted to show you in a video. I don't know, you can hear the voice, but the idea is that you got a trace. So you can get all the traces because you use open telemetry that dumps everything. And then what you can do is you can build just custom traces. So you can just go and see what is important to you. And here they are showing you that a trace of an agent where they will show you real quick, show, search. And now they will ask the question like where you have gone ahead in a bash tool, you have seen errors. That means you have tried to run a command on this machine and that failed. And now it will just give you all the instances. And this trace shows you these are the tool calls made. And this is the failure call, where you spend 1 minute recovering, trying again and again. And then ideally they should map it to the tokens also. That shows that every time this kind of failure happen, how much money is getting wasted in your agent's journey. So these are the kind of tools, and this is the kind of things your engineering needs for you to be successful in 2026 onwards. So what they are offering, or what now the new requirements are, that you should be able to build your own classifier, which is what they did here, that hey, how many times a bash command fails in my trace? I want to observe that. I want to observe just how many times a person said, a customer is saying in a trace that I just told you that, or this is not a violation, why are you stopping me? So the customer phrases, once you have these custom evaluators, you can put classifier, you can put regex, and this allows you to then cluster all your conversations into different categories, which you can go and debug what's going inside your tools, or your engineering can debug for you. So these are the cluster of incorrect calls. This is inadequate final answer. This is inadequate severity filtering, which is we are just saying that we should stop this. This is guardrail, which is not correct. So you can set these classifiers and then cluster each conversations or all your conversations that happens every day, and then go depth of debugging or figuring out how and where things are going wrong. So these are the new observable tools that you have to tackle the new requirements, which is unbounded agents and long horizon jobs. costing you as well as your customers a lot of money. Okay, you can also set targets like you did earlier on these observable things, and you can say, hey, if our agents start responding with a lot of guardrails, more than 5%, then give me an alert. You can also use these traces to go test your evaluations or set your evaluations for future. Last thing is, what's your job versus engineering? It sounded a lot of engineering job. What is the PM role here? Because if we are going to set up clusters, if we are going to set up traces, then what is the engineer going to do? Why are they getting paid? Okay, then this is your job. What does success looks like for each user intent? You need to specify what the average cost is. You need to set the target for helpfulness. You need to specify what is a helpful response is. What does failure look like? Are we measuring tool failures? Are we measuring knowledge failures? And if we are measuring them, then what are the targets we are setting for improvements? What are the thresholds? Where should we set alerts? And which behaviors from the agent perspective are accepted and what's not accepted that we need to measure and control? That's all your responsibility. Once you define these responsibilities, your engineers will be able to go write these traces, build the dashboards, write the alerts, enforce these guardrails. That's their responsibilities. How should you set it up? You should set it up smart metrics, which is I want to be able to increase the number of tasks that our agent is performing 20% month on month. Uber metrics, every time you perform a task, you get paid either by getting more customers usage or by money. Then you want it to be more helpful, and you can set that as a target. Then you can set a target of removing incorrect guardrails triggers 30%. You can set it up that I want to reduce the incorrect tool calling month on month by 30%. Once you set these targets, your engineering is now forced to use the tools I was just showing you, which is available in Agent Foundry as well as AWS core agents, to set up your triggers, set up things like this for you. And once you have these things, they will be able to give you a number that where they are, and then they can set a target for next month or next 6 months, and then show you progress month on these. If you don't set it up, then they are not going to do that. And even if they're not good, they are going to do that, they will set this up incorrectly and not what your customers are facing the maximum pain from. Okay, what are the different tools? You have AI Foundry, Agent Core at AWS, you have Brain Trust, you have Langsmith. I won't say Arise because their PMs are not even interested in solving evaluations for themselves. So there are other tools like Arise. There is also Langsmith. Langsmith is here, so it made it to the chart for us. But my personal preference is AI Foundry Azure Agent Observability. Two reasons for that. One is we are on AWS. We are on Azure and not on AWS. I have looked at Agent Core from AWS Bedrock, and that also sound very, very promising. And then I have looked at Brain Trust, I have looked at Langsmith, and they're trying to be cool, but they don't have the kind of scale and the kind of ease, at least for me, which will be compelling for me to leave Azure and get to a third party. And using open telemetry, I'm already setting my traces in a way that if I go to AWS tomorrow, I should be able to set it up and run it. So my suggestion will be going to AI Foundry or Agent Core if you're on AWS. I have not looked at GCP, but hopefully GCP also has a way of offering the observability that tools that I was showing you here. And most of these also have these kind of tools. So the call is yours, but my recommendation is that if you want to learn more on how to set up red teaming, how to set up Azure Monitor, how to monitor these things, I recorded this awesome course on LinkedIn that you can watch. And I'm going to do a refresh of that, hopefully in September this year, where I will add a lot of agent observability, the things I talked about today. But at least get up to speed, go to this course and do the course. It's free if you have LinkedIn premium subscription. If not, I think it's $10 or $15. So watch it and then you can cancel it. But it's worth it. It shows you how to build agents. It shows you how to set up these alerts. It shows you how to create red teaming. It builds enough muscle in you that when you go and ship things in production, you know a lot about how these systems work. And at least on Azure, how can you set it up? And from there, you need not to wait for me till September. You can just go and upgrade your evals by using the new agent observability that they launched, I believe, 2 months ago. Okay, that is all I had today. I can take questions, but next time you see me, it will be much more hands-on stuff because we're gonna use Amplitude, where I will dump all my data and I will show you how can you generate weekly, daily, or monthly business reports by using AI agents like Claude Cowork and become a data-driven PM, because now you need not to rely a lot on your data teams. Tools like Amplitude, tools like Snowflake, plus Cowork can give you every data. That's the session next week. After that, I will do a session on 21 days of technical prep roadmap. How can you become more technical and get ready for technical interviews? I will walk you through this. That's coming next week. We are starting our next course, which is starting. Oh, the off is only till today, but it's starting, I believe, June end or first week of July. And here we will talk about how should you set up your profiles, where should you position yourself, build a strategy around what to do and where to focus and how to position yourself for success in the AI roles. Then we will talk about how and what to build in your stories. And then we will help you build lot of strength or lot of capabilities by doing lot of mocks. We are upgrading this to from 3 to 6 weeks. We are bringing lot of mocks in. We are bringing lot of building and giving you labs on building the technical skills you need. And we are building what like 4 phases of AIPM interviews are, which is how to succeed in case studies, how to succeed in product sense interviews, how to succeed in technical interviews, and how to articulate your current experience more tailored towards what the hiring managers are looking for. So that's the next phase. If you got the bundle, you got it for free. Uh, if you signed up for our current cohort, and if you got the bundle, you need not to pay anything. But if you want to join, you can join us. This course is getting started on 29th of June, and you can get 25% till today only. Uh, Use the code earlybird. If you want to be invited and if you want to follow along our journey, our Substack is the best place to find us, and you will be able to get to all the invitations of future lightning session if you are on our Substack. If you have already signed up, just give us maybe a couple of weeks. We are trying to see if we can do it with Maven directly, or we need to send you an email, or we should just set up a new website where you can subscribe and auto enroll. That feature is not there on Maven for Lightning Talks. And I'm just trying to see if they can expedite, or should I build another Lightning session page where all of you can get auto invite and we can subscribe you if you are already on our Substack, we can connect these two platforms. But please sign up for the Substack. That's the last thing. All our free sessions are here. This is our Substack. This is our open channel. All the recordings of whatever I have done so far for last 3 years doing these free sessions is here on our YouTube channel. You can just search before anything that you want to learn. You can just go to our YouTube and search for a topic. If you want to search evaluations, there may be already a lot of data, and this video will be there as well. That's all I had. I know we went through a lot of deck today, but this was more like landing stuff that is already out there. And hopefully this was helpful.